Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hi. I'm Jan Moran, and I'm here. We're with some other good author friends, and we're celebrating Kobo's BOGO month. And if you don't know what BOGO is, it's a buy one, get one promotion. And all of our books are spread over the homepage of Kobo, and we're so excited about it. And also for this month, Kobo is giving away a Kobo device, a reading device called their Clara Color. And it's in full living color. It's gorgeous. And it's also $149 value. So that is a giveaway that we're doing this month. And then to make it even sweeter, each one of us has some special giveaways too that we're going to be adding to the BOGO promotion pot. So we're going to go around and introduce ourselves. Some of you may already know some of us here, but we'd love to take your questions too. So we'll be taking questions at the end or pop them in as you think of them. And we're going to start going around. So we've got Leanna Morgan from New Zealand.
Hello.
We've got Elana Johnson from, where are you now, Elana? And unmute yourself.
I live in Utah, so that's where I always seem to be.
And Pamela?
I'm near Cape Cod, Mass.
Great, great. And I'm in San Diego and trying to hide from the sun. So if you see little halos chasing me around, halos, I like that. Anyway, we're going to have a good time tonight. So thank you so much for spending it with us. First of all, I'm sure everyone wants to know a little more about us. So I'm going to kick it off with Pamela. Tell us a little bit about your books, how you came to writing, and maybe something interesting about yourself that we don't know.
Okay. So I've been writing, seems like forever, but I've been publishing for a little over 10 years. And I started out writing writing sweet romance. And I write both sweet romance, women's fiction now. My first sweet romance is one of the books that's in this promotion. It's 6 Months in Montana. And funny thing about that book is I still have not been to Montana, but one of my best friends moved out there, fell in love, and I've got a lot of great material from her. And now I mostly write women's fiction. I'd say romantic women's fiction. There's still plenty of sweet romance in the books. And those books are mostly set on Nantucket and Cape Cod, where I grew up.
Oh, that's great. Now we have to know who that tale belongs to.
Oh, that is my Bella girl. She is just wanting my attention at the moment.
Is she your writing partner?
She is. She likes to walk right across my laptop. That's her favorite thing.
That's cute. That's cute. Elana, tell us about yourself.
I'm Elana Johnson, and it's a weird name, I know, so I get it. It's Elana. I write sweet beach romance or romance adjacent to the beach under this name. And this name is, all the books that I have in Kobo are all under my Elana Johnson name. I have 2 cowboy series, but I set them in the coastal bend of Texas, so it's totally beach related, right? And then I write Christian cowboy romance under Liz Isaacson. And I write, I guess I would say the same as Pam, romantic women's fiction. I don't think mine have as much romance as hers do. There's a little bit for kind of each woman as things kind of go through a little bit. Some of them are married. And those are, I publish under Jesse Newton. So that's my whole brand under Feel Good Fiction. I live in the Rocky Mountains in Utah. I have 2 grown kids. I'm an empty nester. They're both away at college, but my daughter is my most recent absentee, and she comes back a lot. And so she's here quite often. She brought her friends tonight. We're doing a big pizza party and stuff. So that's kind of fun. And I don't know what else I'm supposed to say. Is that all? Is that all the things?
You've got the floor.
All right. I wasn't sure if I was supposed to say some fun fact or what I'm working on. So I wasn't sure if we're going to get to that later. So
we will. We'll get to all of our new things later and more about the books that we've got in Kobo's promo as well. So awesome. Leanna, you're up next.
Hello. Well, I live in New Zealand in the North Island, which is a little bit about an hour north of Wellington, if anyone's been to New Zealand before. I have the beach just around the corner from me, about a 5-minute drive. Everything in New Zealand is very close because we're such a small country, so we can be skiing within a few hours or hiking in the mountains. It really doesn't matter. I write small town, mostly sweet romances set in Montana. From the very beginning, I set my books in Montana, mainly for the fact that the character that came to my head decided that she needed to find her birth father. And I said, well, where is he? And she said, America. So I said, where? And so we looked at a Google map and Montana just sort of pinged out at us. And then we looked a bit deeper and went to Bozeman. So I've written about 44 books, and the first probably 20 are set in Bozeman, and the second 20 are set in an imaginary town called Sapphire Bay, which is on the shore of Flathead Lake. So I've been to Montana, I've been to Bozeman, but I haven't been to Flathead Lake. So watch out, America. I'm coming next year with the family, so that'll be fun.
Woohoo! We'll all get for you.
I love it. It's very much like New Zealand. The people that we met in Bozeman, their sense of humour is so similar to New Zealanders. They have a real sense of looking after the environment and making it better for the next generation. And I just love that. I think making the world a better place is why I write, and probably why all of us write. So that's me.
That's great. That's great. Rachel, you're on.
So I'm Rachel Hanna. I write also romantic women's fiction, clean, closed-door romance. And all of my books are set in the South, either at the beach or in the mountains. You won't find anything in the suburbs. Anywhere like that, it's going to be at the beach or the mountains. And I'm a lifelong resident of Georgia, North Georgia, and have a house in the Blue Ridge Mountains that I also like to use for inspiration.
Great. And I'm Jan Moran. I'm in San Diego, California. I write sweet romance women's fiction books, primarily beach books, although I do have some historical sagas as well, 20th century. But for this promotion, it's mostly my contemporary books. And those are often set on a fictional beach in Southern California, somewhere in North San Diego County. Everyone's always trying to pinpoint where it is. And it doesn't really exist except in my mind. And if they took out the Marine base, maybe it would be up there. But I don't think they have any plans to do that anytime soon. So we're just going to have to deal with it. But I love to write. Right now I'm writing about women who are primarily in their 40s and above. I thought that was an underserved market. Some of my earlier books, I'm writing about younger women in their late 20s and 30s. And then as I grew older too, I said, you know, we've still got an awful lot going on in our lives. Come on. In fact, I think we have more going on because we're often juggling children, parents, lifelong friends, career changes. And I think there's just a lot more interest, a lot more life experiences that we've lived. And so I love to throw some of those into, and I love writing my sassy grandmothers, smart, sassy grandmothers. I love those. And I'm a proud one too. Hi, Zoe. So yeah, I love doing that. And little known fact, although it's probably pretty evident, and that is that I'm originally from Texas. So Rachel and I throw around the y'all quite a bit. It's although it's kind of disappeared out of my vocabulary when I moved to Boston. They went, come on. What did you say? Repeat that. And so I had to learn how to speak faster and drop a few of my colloquialisms, but they creep back every time I get on the phone with Rachel. So yeah, so that's me. So let's talk about books. I mean, that's our favorite subject, and that's why we're all here. And what's great about Kobo is that they are featuring so many of our books this month. And I think a lot of us we might have some series in there, or we might have some first opt-in series to introduce people to different lines that we have. So who wants to kick it off? Pamela?
Sure. So I've got a couple of different series in this. I have my very first book, 6 Months in Montana, which is sweet romance, and another book in that series, which is Matchmaking Montana. And they're part of a series, but they're totally standalones. So you can read them out of order. And then I have the Nantucket Inn, which is the first in my Nantucket series. And that's about I like writing older characters too, but I like writing the younger ones along with them. So a lot of my books have the mom and the kids and maybe even the grandparents. So this book is a woman in her mid-50s and her 4 adult children that are in their 30s. And then I have the follow-up book to that, which is Nantucket Neighbors. And then I did not really a spin-off, but I did another series also set on Nantucket called The Restaurant. And that was supposed to be a standalone, but then I got requests to do another one. So I did a sequel, Christmas at the Restaurant, and that's also in there. So, yes, for anybody that hasn't tried my books, any of those would be a good way to start. Oh, thank you, Dee.
Who's up next? Elena, tell us about your books that you've got in the Kobo Bogo. I love saying that.
I know, I like it too. It's like, and I never know if I should say BOGO with Kobo or Kobo with BOGO or Kobo BOGO or whatever. But either way, you buy one, you get one free, right? So it doesn't really matter how you say it. So I have 8 Elena series. I actually have 9. Maybe I have 10. And I thought, what do I want to do for someone who maybe hasn't read any of my books before? So what I ended up doing is we got to choose up to 10 books. And I thought BOGO comes in pairs. So I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do a couple things that I can advertise in pairs, or I can talk about in pairs. So that's kind of what I did. Is I gave you 2 series starters. One of them is Aloha Hideaway Inn, and it starts my Getaway Bay Resort series. It's all billionaires, all beaches. It's in a fictional bay in Hawaii somewhere. There's actually 3 series set there, and all 3 of them are in the sale. But this is just a book 1 series starter. And so if you're looking to just start something, you know, a different series, I would choose 2 series starters from me. My second one is The Day He Drove By, which starts my Hawthorne Harbor series, which is off the Pacific Northwest coast in Washington. So not a warm beach, but a cold beach, but a beach nonetheless, because beaches everywhere are worthy of amazing things. I love beaches of all kinds. That starts I call it a Hometown Heroes series. So I have my Billionaire series, which are a little bit more alpha. And then I have my Cinnamon Roll series, which is, you know, my little kind of boy next door Hometown Heroes. All of these heroes are like cops or paramedics or firefighters or Coast Guard officers. So that's kind of my Hawthorne Harbor series. So you can start there. Then I gave you full series. So I thought you can buy a whole series and get a whole series for free. So that's my Stranded in Paradise, which is a Getaway Bay romance world. And I have my Heartwood Sisters. Those are a little bit shorter books. I call them evening reads. So Pam and I were actually in a series together a few years ago with cowboys, and they were like 30 to 35,000 words. So I call them weekend reads or weeknight reads. You can read them in a couple hours. So when I say whole series, don't be overwhelmed. But my Getaway Bay series is all Stranded, and I really love that series, and it doesn't get a lot of attention. Every situation where they got stranded is a real situation that happened. So one of them is like some killer whales attack their boat, and they like go overboard, and that like really happened. And then I had to search for like where they were, and I found these little outposts that were there from the World War II, and anyway, in the Hawaii region. So you can get that one. Heartwood Sisters is 5 sisters off the coast of South Carolina. It's not Hilton Head, but it's a fictional island next to Hilton Head, which is based on a real island next to Hilton Head. And I called it Carter's Cove. That's all 5 of those sisters. And Stranded is also Sisters Saga. So there's families of sisters, and they all find their romances. And then I put 2 cowboys in. So my Hope Eternal Ranch series and my Grumpy Cowboys. And I love those series. They're connected. They're in the same story world. It's in the coastal bend of Texas. Hope Eternal Ranch is about cowboys who are released from prison. So it's a little bit maybe on the edgier side of your clean romance, your sweet romance. I call them redemption romances. And then I gave you 2 beach series that aren't complete, but that have the first few books in each one. That's the Island Romance and the Hilton Head Romance collection. And you can get basically, 7 books for $15 if you get both of them, because buy one is get one free. So you can basically sample pretty much everything I've written except my Sweet Motorcycle Club. You're welcome. I didn't put that in. And my romantic suspense series that's tied to that. I don't think I put any of that in either. But otherwise, it's pretty much a sampling of my beach romance catalog across my Elana Johnson name. So I hope you might give them a try.
Sounds like fun. Leanna, you're up.
Oh, very good. In the promotion, I've got my Sapphire Bay, Return to Sapphire Bay series, and a couple of books from the next series after that. So Return to Sapphire Bay, I really enjoyed writing that. It's about 4 young women in their early 30s who go back to Sapphire Bay after their grandmother dies, and they take over the family house and end up turning it into a bed and breakfast. But they find a letter in the bottom of a dresser, and it was written by Abraham Lincoln to his son before the Gettysburg Address. And so throughout all 4 books, it's, as well as telling the story of each of the sisters, it's telling the story of the letter and their family history and how that letter came to be in the bottom of a dresser. So I loved it. It was fun doing the research. It was really interesting just looking at different ways that that letter could have actually ended up in the dresser and making it realistic. So I loved it. So I hope you enjoy those. And then the next 2 books are from the Cottages on Anchor Lane series. So in Sapphire Bay, we have a community that have lots of fun and really wonderful things that they do for each other. And one of those things is creating or renovating or remodeling old cottages. And the cottages on Anchor Lane used to be owned by the Polson Steamboat Company. And I went down a little rabbit's hole when I was researching that, because the Steamboat Company was just incredible. That whole industry around Flathead Lake was fascinating. But anyway, so the cottages were owned as vacation homes for the employees way back in the 1880s, 1900s. And the first 4 cottages get turned into small businesses. And so that Cottages on Anchor Lane, the first 2 books are about a flower shop and a cafe, the Starlight Cafe, that opens on Anchor Lane. So it'll give you a little taste of some really good, heartwarming small town romances, and with a little bit of mystery and intrigue, and just some really, really awesome characters to enjoy.
It's great. I love doing the historical research too. It's a lot of fun, and you always wonder, where do we stop? For me, I just want to, keep on reading and researching, but I always have to, call it a day at some point and get back to writing. So, Rachel, what about you? What have you got in Kobo?
So I figured, since we're going into spring, summer, and people are looking for beach reads, I did the first 6 books of my January Cove series, which is set in a fictional town along the Georgia coast. And there are actually 10 books in the series and 2 novellas, but this will give you the first 6 of those. They can really be read in any order. They're all set in the same town. Some of the same characters do come in and out, but each book is really a standalone clean romance. So I thought that might be good for people who are looking for some beach reads.
And Rachel, I just have to say, your covers are phenomenal. Like, you guys, if you haven't seen them, you got to go to the Kobo website and just look at her row right now. It's incredible.
Thank you. I had those redone.
Grab them up and display them on my own shelf. Like, they're really beautiful.
I can sign some and send them to you, Elaine. I have them on my shelf.
I just think they're really beautiful, and they look so good in the row. I was just looking at it because I was like, what books did I put in the promo? And I was like, man, her books look really nice all next to each other. So I just want to say that.
Yeah, yours are gorgeous. I mean, they're works of art. And here's a little known fact. I happen to know you've got them blown up on movie poster sizes in your
I do. The funny thing is, not for that series, but for Sweet Tea B&B and Wisteria, and I think Beach House, at my other house, I blew them up to movie size posters, but they're the old covers, so now I need to get them redone. But
Oh,
I was like, if nobody's going to make a movie for me, I'll just make my own movie posters and hang them on my wall.
It's just, putting those vibes out, and I want to see that on screen for sure. And okay, what do I have in the promo? Well, I hope someone tells me because I've forgotten. But what I've got, what I do know I have is the Coral Cottage over there. Coral Cottage.
I could feed them to you, Jan. Seabreeze Inn, Flawless, Coral Cottage, Hepburn's Necklace.
Yes.
Maybe talk about those.
Oh, good. Thank you so much, Elena. I appreciate it. So I put in some series starters, and Seabreeze Inn was the very first one in my Summer Beach series, and that one just blew up. Ivy and Shelley, two sisters that go back to dilapidated, sprawling beach house that was designed by Julia Morgan, the first licensed female architect in the state of California, who also did Hearst Castle. So if you've ever been to Hearst Castle or heard about it or want to Google it real quick, you'll get kind of an idea of what the pool scene looks like. I had a lot of fun writing that. I love the historicals, and I bring that in. And that one just went on. Talk about a slow burn romance. It's all clean, closed doors, but there is kissing and romance. And book number 9 is Seabreeze Honeymoon. So it gives you an idea of how slow this slow burn is. But readers just seem to love it. And so I did a spinoff series with one of her best friends, which is, oh, hi, Rosanna. Thank you. Thank you. I also spun off Coral Cottage, and that one is Marina and her 3 sisters. I love to write about sisters. I don't have sisters, but maybe that's why I love to write about them, because I've got good friends who are like sisters. We've known each other for decades, and we bicker, and then we make up, and then, we don't like who the other one's dating or married to. And then, there's all this life stuff that goes on. And so I feel like I do have sisters, and I'm writing about them. Flawless is one of my younger series, and they're in their late 20s and early 30s. And I wrote that one just at the tail end of my career, which I was in the beauty business for a while. I had created a technology for Sephora and duty-free stores. And so I was writing about a group of friends, great friends, smart, and they were all in the beauty, or what I call the beautiful businesses, what we think of as that, whether it's a skincare salon or a makeup line or a model or a jeweler. And they were all friends and all cheering each other on. And it's a second chance series, because whatever they're doing, wee little spoiler, their businesses don't go as planned, something blows up, and then it's how they remake their lives. So I often write about women who are remaking their lives at some point in time. And I just love to see women's courage and our creativity. And I love to see us doing what we want to do, no matter what age we are. So, one more, Hepburn's Necklace. I love that one. That one I wrote just as we were going into the pandemic. And so I wanted to add an extra warm hug for that one, because I felt like we all needed it then. So it's really a sweetheart of a book. It starts on, it's a dual timeline. So it's present day, and then it goes back to the 1950s. So it's about a woman, she's a Hollywood legend, and then her niece, her grandniece. And it starts on the set of Roman Holiday with Audrey Hepburn. As the title indicates, Hepburn's Necklace. She gifts my main character, who is a young starlet in the beginning, and she gives her a necklace, and that necklace becomes the glue for this story. And just a I just loved writing that one. I love, love, love Lake Como, one of my favorite spots in the world. It's gorgeous. And yeah, I love to just lift spirits. So that's my jam. Okay, let's keep going. Let's talk about what we've got that's new out. So we've all got new things coming out on a regular basis. Pamela, you're up. You and Bella are up. Oh, and unmute yourself.
Sorry, that would help.
Yeah.
So the next thing up for me is The Seaside Sisters, and that comes out June 4th, and that is set on Cape Cod, and that is the story of two sisters, both at different points in their life. One is living in Brooklyn when it starts, and she's an author, and she's having some major writer's block for her next book. Oh, Bella's back. And then she's from the Cape. She's from Chatham. And her sister, Sarah, is all settled. She's married. She's got 4 boys. And she's been a stay-at-home mom. And she's itching to, get back into the workforce. And she's finding that, she's been out so long that it's not as easy to slip back in again. And so as it starts out, um, she's having such a difficult time and her aunt actually ends up inviting her to come spend the summer, thinking that maybe if she's back in Chatham by the beach, she'll just the creative juices will get flowing. And it turns out that her aunt is a literary agent, and everybody thought she had the perfect marriage, and it turns out that it's not so perfect at the moment. So they're all dealing with very different things. Plus, in the background, they're dealing with the girls lost their mother, and the aunt lost their sister just a few months earlier. So that has a lot to do with the writer's block. So it's just a summer of kind of processing things and going back to the Cape and seeing how things go. So had a lot of fun with it. And kind of a funny thing, the book opens with, something that actually, they say, "Write what you know," and the book opens with something that happened to me, kind of in a similar scenario, not too long after my mom had passed. I had a panic attack, and I didn't know what the heck was going on. I thought I was having a heart attack. A friend was visiting, she's like, "We're going to the hospital." I was, like, in my 30s. I'm like, "I know I'm not having a heart attack." But she made me go, and I wasn't having a heart attack, but I was having my first panic attack. And if you've never had a panic attack, it is the craziest feeling. And so I thought that was something that people can relate to. Just way that people process grief. And so it's not, I promise it's not a downer of a book. It starts out that way and then things look up. So that's what's coming for me. And then shortly after, at the end of September, I have a second book coming. It's not a series, but it is the same setting, and that's The Christmas Inn. And that I basically, with that book, I'm addicted to the Hallmark Christmas shows. And this book I had so much fun with. It has multiple ages. I have a 30-year-old, I have her mother, and her mother runs an inn, and Christmas Inn, and one of the guests is a 72-year-old woman who's in town, and I just had so much fun. Everybody gets a story. There's lots of like found family, and there's so much Christmas in this book. So that one's coming. It's also set in Chatham. It has the same bookshop that appears in the first 2 books, and some of the characters make an appearance. So that's what I have.
I love bringing back old characters and adding them. That's a lot of fun. So, Elana, what do you have coming up?
Oh, I'm always writing something, right? Because I have so many names. I only release twice a year under my Elana Johnson name, and she's writing rom-coms right now. And it's a little weird to talk about myself in the third person, but it's okay. We're all the same person inside. But I'm writing rom-coms as her right now. And I had a book out in February, and my next book doesn't come out till October. So I'm not really thinking about that book, but it's coming out under that name. My Jessie Newton name only releases twice a year as well. She just had a book come out April 16th or maybe April 9th. I can't remember when. But that one just came out. It's book 10 in my 5 Island Cove series. And it was really fun to write because I've written all these, ladies that are my age, 45 to 50, and they have kids that are getting older. And so it's called the Bicycle Book Club. And it was really fun to write because there's a daughter in it who leaves and goes to college. And so that was basically my life too. And I got to kind of write through some of those things that you kind of deal with change happens in your life, right? Maybe positive or negative. It doesn't really matter which, but I like putting all those real life things into my books because I think it makes them feel really authentic. And I think it helps people connect to them. So writing for me, Leanna was like, I want to put good out into the world. I'm like, writing for me is like therapy. It's like, take all these things I'm dealing with and let me put those in a book for you. But I promise they don't sound that depressing. It's not that depressing. But so basically what I'm focusing on this year is my Liz Isaacson name. So I've just written, I'm doing a ton of travel in May. And I know Jan loves to travel and Pam always seems to be somewhere as well. But I have a lot going on. I'm doing a work conference this next week, and then I'm only home for like 5 or 6 days. And I'm going to the Mediterranean with my mom, which I've never done that, never been there, haven't ever been on a cruise. It's my first cruise. So I'm really kind of hoping not to work for a lot of May, which is kind of different for me. So I've written 3 books in the last couple of months. And my next book that comes out is a Three Rivers book. And so people that love my Three Rivers series, I have 4 series set in the small town of Three Rivers. It's my flagship story world. And I'm totally going to blow up my book covers into movie posters. That's a great idea. Like I've sold some rights to a studio, and then you know how everything's pretty slow after that, or maybe some people are fast. I don't know. Everything I do seems to go really slow. So something will happen and then it will just be like, and we'll sit here during the writer's strike and during the catch up during the writer's strike. And while we wait for them to redline your contract. And anyway, so I'm like, that's what I need to do. I got to be better at manifesting. I'm going to put a movie poster up. So I thought that was a really great idea because I'm like, dude, let's sell this thing, I hope cruising will be really fun, but I'm hoping that I don't have to take my computer to the pool and work. So I've been writing a surprise novel for my fans in Three Rivers. So my original series in Three Rivers is 17 books. And then I moved to another ranch and it's 7 sons and there's 8 books because I had to do the parents' origin story. Then I moved to Shiloh Ridge, and Shiloh Ridge is the series that Sony bought. And it's 12 books. And these are big family sagas, big families, big ranches. Of course, they're all rich, because this is fantasy romance. And so we want that kind of, fantasy cowboy. And my 4th series is Second Generation in Three Rivers. And what I decided to do is I'm doing a big promotion with a bunch of other Christian authors, some of my Christian romance friends. So those of you who love the inspirational romance, the Christian romance, the family sagas, there's going to be about 20 of us. I think there might be 22 or 23. But we're releasing books in June, all only on BookFunnel, and you can get them for free for like a week. And then I'll be able to release it on retailers. So I'm going back to the OG Three Rivers, and I'm releasing book 18 in my original Liz Isaacson series. The first book came out 8.5 years ago, and it's just really been a flagship small town for me. I really write a lot in Three Rivers, and my other flagship series is Coral Canyon. So that one just got trademarked today, so I was super excited about that. So I've just been working on cowboys, and then I'm going to Boston next week, kind of near Pam, and I've never been in that part of the world, so I'm super excited about it. When I get back during my 6 days, I'm going to outline my next cowboy, which is the Second Generation series. I've really written like 4 cowboys this year and a women's fiction novel. So doesn't really have anything to do with the beach books, but now I need a beach escape from all of the writing and all of the work and all of the cowboy naming horses and crows and all of that, which I really, really love. I mean, I love my cowboys and I love writing them. And I'm super excited to give my fans a bonus book this summer that kind of speaks to Three Rivers and is very, quintessential in my cowboy town and how I write my cowboys. So anyway, that's what I've been working on a lot. I have 2 series going in Coral Canyon, and I write a ton of bonus content for my subscribers. So I'm constantly writing extra scenes and kids and babies and weddings and, you know, brothers fighting and all that good family saga for my subscribers. And so I spend a lot of time in the cowboy worlds. And so it doesn't really speak to the Kobo Bogo, but yeah, that's what I've been working on.
Oh, that sounds like fun. So yeah, we're all running along trying to catch up with Elana. But we won't call you in May. I'm not going to call you in May. You need a rest. Leanna, what have you got going on? What's coming
Well, I
up?
was just thinking while Elena was talking that I don't hold out much hope that you're not going to open that laptop around the swimming pool on the cruise ship.
We know you.
I think you'll be sneaking onto the toilet at midnight to go
I'll
and do
send you a picture. I'll be like, I'm doing it. You'll get a picture in your PMs. You're like, I knew it. I knew you were going to do it.
I've got a feeling I wouldn't want to be your mum. She'll be going, come on, Elena, let's go and do something. And you'll be going, no, I've just got to finish this chapter. Anyway, I published a book a couple of days ago now called The Magic of Sunshine. And it was a really nice, actually, it was a really wonderful book to write, but it really made me dig deep. We were talking about COVID before, Jan, and the book that you wrote before COVID. And in The Magic of Sunshine, my main two characters are Harper, and she was a trauma nurse in a New York hospital during COVID, the pandemic. And so she has, there were a lot of situations that really traumatized her, and she got burnout. So she goes back to Sapphire Bay to look after her granddad who's had a stroke, and ends up working as a receptionist in a medical clinic because she doesn't want to go back to nursing. She lost a lot of colleagues, and and I went back through my mind of all the footage, and I looked online of medical staff's stories about what happened in the hospitals, and particularly in New York. And it was just horrific. And as I was writing Harper's story, I tried to put all that, the grief and the desperation and everything that she was feeling and a lot of the other staff were feeling in real life, into Harper's life. And so she comes to Sapphire Bay, and Owen is a former police officer for the Detroit Police Department. And he attended a mall shooting, and his best friend was killed. And they sound really heavy topics, but the book's quite uplifting, and it's all about finding your way through that grief and through different things that have happened in their lives, and finding the special someone that understands what they're going through. So that was really nice to write. And the next book I'm writing is the third book in that series. That's the Love on Anchor Lane series. And I've just started writing The Magic of Rainbows. And I love that title. It reminds me of leprechauns and pots of gold. And that's going to be a really lovely story as well. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. But my head just spins, Elena. I don't know how you keep track of all your, not only your books, but your pen names.
It's a lot of spreadsheets. I just want to say, we really do write uplifting books. Don't worry about the panic attacks from Pam and the therapy and the police shootings. They're great. They're amazing. As we're all talking, I'm like, man, what are we doing here? But no, it really is about finding your way through grief and stuff, right? Like, that's what we want to do, so that we have hope that when we have those things, we can also have our magic of sunshine at the end. I just think that's really beautiful.
Yeah, it's so true. I know when I was younger, I read books and I was off. Who else was reading Danielle Steele in the early days? There's always something, always a tragedy, always something going on.
I still do.
Yeah, I love them because the heroines always figured it out. They always came through it, and they were always stronger for it. And yeah, I love that. I love that. So yeah, we do put our heroines through a lot, but happy endings. So, Rachel, what have you got? What's new? What's coming up?
Well, my first grandchild's coming in August, so there's that.
Congratulations.
I have nothing to do with the publishing of a creation of that or anything.
You started it though. You started it, so you can take the ultimate claim.
I will heretofore be called Gigi after August, just so everybody knows what to call me at that point. So I've published 2 books so far this year. I had the 11th book in the South Carolina Sunset series that came out at the end of February. That's called Sea Glass Summer. And then I did the 4th book in the Jubilee series, which was called Blue Ridge Breakdown. And that came out April 8th. But I have 3 more for the rest of the year. I have a book coming out with Blackstone Publishing June 11th. And that's called Happy Harbor. That's set in the South Carolina Low Country also. It's a standalone novel and about 3 generations of women in the same family. There's been some dysfunction and one woman has been forced to come home and take over her deceased grandmother's restaurant. And when she gets there, she finds that her estranged mother the reason she left so many years ago is working in the restaurant. So, and then she has her own teenage daughter that's also a little bit of a problem. So that comes out June 11th. And then August 27th, I'm putting out a rom-com. It's really my first actual rom-com. That one's called The Baking Games. And it's about a baking reality show. It's sort of a mixture between a baking competition show and Big Brother. So they're all in a house together. And so this woman is going in there trying to win the prizes. And when she gets there, she finds her rival from pastry chef school is in there, as is her very recent ex-boyfriend who's mad at her and wants to sabotage her. And the producers are sort of manipulating all of this stuff behind the scenes. So that comes out in August of the 27th. And then finally on December 3rd, I have Christmas on Waverly Lane, which is a follow-up book to my standalone, The Book Club on Waverly Lane. And so it's not really a series. It's just readers were asking for another book in there. So it'll be the same characters and a continuation of their story at Christmas time and maybe a couple of new characters thrown in. So that's what I've got going on.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Well, we're all writing in our series, and I just put out Seabreeze Gala, which is number 10 in the Seabreeze Summer Beach series. And that one was also, Elena, also just optioned for a television series. So
I did see that on Facebook. Was it the whole series? Your Seabreeze series, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I saw
starting
that.
with the Seabreeze Inn.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed, but I know what you mean. It's active patience.
Oh yeah. And like every day, and you lay awake at night going, I wonder if today is the day I'm going to get an email. Maybe just me, but maybe if I had a movie poster, I'd be like, and there it is. I got the email. So anyway.
I have to do that too, Rachel. Yeah,
everybody's gonna have movie posters all over the country.
We're manifesting new television series.
I even have a metal sign above it that says now showing. I literally have a metal sign.
I love that.
So if Steven Spielberg is listening to this right now, help a girl out,
Yeah, because we write great books. I mean, we do. Come on. And I'd love to see more of them on the screen, and I know our readers would too. But anyway, so Seabreeze Gala was number 10. Seabreeze Library is next, but that's coming next year. Next up is Coral Memories, and that one is the last one in the Coral Cottage series. That's book number 6. And so I went through all 3 sisters and got them all, handsome men and great businesses. But this one deals with the grandmother. So she is 80-ish. She's one of my fabulous grandmothers. She was a Cold War cryptologist. So she has a lot of secrets in her life, smart as a whip. And so we're going to delve in and find out more about her life. So there may be some flashbacks back to the 50s and 60s, some glam fun scenes there with her. She's a woman who really speaks her mind. So I'm having a lot of fun with her. That's in June. And then next up is Orange Blossom Way, which is the 3rd in a new series called Crown Island. That was a fun island fashioned after Coronado Island off the coast of Southern California with a majestic hotel, also the Del, fashioned after the Del Coronado Hotel, and kind of a mashup between that island and Laguna Beach, which is very artsy. So I've had a lot of fun with that one. Orange Blossom Way is one of the daughters' stories. So a lot of fun there. I've got a giveaway. If we all talked about our giveaways, mine is the welcome kit for the Summer Beach series. So I've got both the Seabreeze Inn series and the Coral Cottage series. I've got characters, family trees, maps, recipes, a lot of summer recipes and excerpts in that. So that one's free. And why don't we just take a minute and go around and talk about what we've got free, and then we can answer some questions. How's that?
Sounds good.
Pamela, you're up. What do you have? Or just speak out, everyone. Just speak out.
I think I have Nashville Dreams, which is a women's fiction. Actually, it's the first women's fiction book that I wrote, and it's the one that I think was inspired by Danielle Steele. It's got that big sweeping saga. There's a little bit of amnesia. There's country music, and it's a lot of fun.
Great.
I've got 3 books that you can pop across to my website or on any of the retailers and download for free. I had to write them down because I couldn't remember. The first one's Once in a Lifetime, which is set in Sapphire Bay. We've got Forever in Love, which is one of the books that's set in Bozeman. And that's the second book in the Montana Bride series. And the third one is Playing for Keeps, which is the second book in the Emerald Lake series, which is about a country music superstar. I had to write a country music superstar, and falling in love with a scientist who is on the run from a pharmaceutical company who want her formula for curing Alzheimer's disease. So it sounds a bit far-fetched, but it was a wonderful book to write, and it touched a lot of hearts. So that was really good.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
Awesome. I'll go next. I am giving away the Relation Trip, which is a standalone romance, not a series. So you don't have to commit. There's no commitment. If you're commitment phobe, you can read the Relation Trip and be done. It's a standalone beach read in the style of Christina Lauren's The Unhoneymooners or Emily Henry's People We Meet on Vacation. It's friends to lovers. They take a trip, a midwinter trip every year. It's their 5th year. They end up at this resort in Belize, and they find out there's only one room, so it's the one bed trope. And I love this book because I just love friends to lovers. It's one of my favorite tropes ever. So Sloan and Logan live in 2 different places. Sloan lives in Pittsburgh, and Logan lives in Superior, and they're cold in the winter. So they take a midwinter trip every year somewhere tropical together. And they do this because Logan rescued Sloan on her honeymoon night at the airport. She was going to take her honeymoon alone after her fiance left her at the altar. And he's like, I'll go with you. And so they go together and they start this friendship. So it's been about 5 or 6 years now. He's a romance novelist writing under a female pen name, which I really enjoyed. So it's got some hidden identity in it. He hasn't told Sloan that he's a romance novelist. He hasn't even told his mom he's a romance novelist. And he's been harboring a lot of his own unrequited love feelings for Sloan for a couple of years now. So it's got all these kind of fun tropes. And then when he finds out there's this one bed, you know, and he knows her so well, and he really wants to tell her how he feels, and he really wants to tell her that he's a romance novelist. And of course, if you've ever read a romance, I think you know how that's all going to go. And so, of course, she finds out before he can tell her. And anyway, he does tell her about his feelings. And they sort of start this relationship in Belize. And it's just really fun and really sweet. And I love it because I've always wanted to write a shower kiss, but you don't really do that in sweet romance. Like, why would they be in the shower together? It's not really sweet or clean, but you can on the beach. And so I got to write my sort of steamy beach shower kiss, which is still really clean. In the Relation Trip. And so you can get that one for free. And then I offered up my reader magnet, my first book. It's not really a book. It's not published anywhere, to my 5 Island Cove series, because I know a lot of you read women's fiction, and that's my women's fiction series under Jessie Newton. And so you can get Memories at Friendship Inn for free. And that just sort of sets up my 5 friends that return to their small coastal town. once one of their childhood mentors basically dies. And so it's 30 years in the future, and they come back together and sort of learn some secrets and solve some mysteries and learn how valuable they are to each other all over again. So that's under my Jessie Newton name, and you can get both of those.
Oh, that's great. Anything else? Okay.
Me?
Oh, yes, yes.
Elana, if there was anything else, there's like 17 million books, so I just want maybe there's something else. No, I'm just giving away a copy of the Beach House ebook, which is the first book in my South Carolina Sunset series. And it is the book that people most often tell me they found me through. It's like the portal into Rachel Hanna world. So this is the beginning of the story of Julie, who was married for 21 years. Both of her daughters have moved to opposite ends of the world, it seems, and she and her husband are becoming empty nesters. They've sold their house. They're going to move into their dream beach house. And then he comes home late from a business trip, and turns out he's had a whole secret life, secret baby, everything, and he's choosing to go with them. So she takes off on her own to a little island in the South Carolina low country, buys a cottage sight unseen, finds out it's not in good condition, and has to sort of hire, a contractor she meets on the island who becomes her only friend on the island. And as she starts to get settled a little bit, then her crazy mom and her estranged sister suddenly show up on her front porch with their luggage in their hands. So it's kind of the beginning of her starting over and trying to build a new life and find, new family and friends in this little town. So that's what I'm giving away.
Great, great. And then we've also got the big giveaway, which is the Kobo Clara color device. And that is through a King Sumo link. There it is. Yes. So you can go there, enter, and good luck to all of you. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous device. We probably got some questions. Do we have any questions that out there we want to answer? Hello, hello. Can't see. If you have any, lead them, give a quick shout out, and we'll make sure we answer them for you. In the meantime, you've got all of our Facebook links, and please follow us all. And that's where we keep people in touch and tell everyone about all the new things that are going on, whether they're new books, new giveaways, special offers. I know all of us have a lot going on for summer. Many of our books take place in the summer and on the beach. So we've got a lot going on every summer. So I think anyone else have anything to add? Hot seat. Anything we've forgotten? Oh, Tanya. Tanya asked, how can you come up with your ideas? How do we come up with our ideas?
Usually in the shower.
Is that the place?
Well, for me, they always just pop into my head in the shower or in the car. Some random little thing will happen that seems like nothing and just suddenly pops in. I'm not one of those who can dream them, though. I really envy people who tell me they dream these great book ideas and then wake up. My dreams make no sense whatsoever, so I can't write any of that down. But I think a lot of us probably pull a little bit from reality sometimes, or from movies and TV shows we watch and wonder, well, what would have happened if they had gone this direction or changed this plot point or whatever. So that's kind of how I usually come up with mine is through watching movies and TV and reality shows and reading news and things like that. And something will usually pop in at some point.
We're all I can't speak now. We're all hardwired for stories, I think. And I think for anyone who writes, it's our superpower. But I don't know about you guys. I didn't recognize it until I was older. I just thought everyone made up stories wherever they went. I'd sit on the subway in Boston when I was going to school on the T, and I'd make up stories about people sitting on the subway, and just to amuse myself. So, yeah.
I had a
Although
lot of
I use the bathtub, not the shower, so.
I had a lot of imaginary friends when I was a kid, and my sister, who might be watching this, would make fun of me for having all these imaginary friends. And now I make money from talking to people that don't exist. So I think that's a win. I think I really turned that around. Instead of having it be a mental condition, I just, write them down. That's what
Superpower, yeah. What about the rest of you?
Yeah, I mean, basically everything Rachel said. Yeah, I mean, my best ideas whenever I'm stuck, I take a shower, I go for a drive. I've gotten ideas. Sometimes watching like true crime shows, I'll see something and I'll be like, oh, that's so intriguing. And then use it as kind of a jumping off point a year or two later for like a story. So you never know when something's going to, just spark an idea.
That's fascinating. I don't really take anything from TV or movies. I watch a lot of that. I like to, this is going to be like totally against me, but I don't have to talk to anybody. So it fits my hermit, introvert personality. But I like to eavesdrop on people. So like my favorite is sitting in an airport, because I can just sit there and I'm like looking at my phone, but I'm really listening to this conversation over here or this conversation behind me. And I just find people so fascinating. So my books are mostly character driven, or something I see that I'm like, that has to go in a book for a specific character. I don't know who they are yet, but they're going to come together and they're going to, have this bird that I saw on TikTok maybe. It kind of comes from just listening to them talk about their lives, what they're talking about, and going, what kind of life is this? Right? Like, what kind of life is this? Who are these people? Where did they come from? So I love going places like that where you might get a lot of people from different places. So the airport is my favorite. I love going to the airport and just eavesdropping on people. So like my husband will be like, what time do you want to leave? I'm like, well, I really like being there early, because really I just want to listen into as many conversations as I can. So I do. And I just think, what kind of life is this that these people are living? What are they talking about? So that's my favorite way, is to people watch and overhear what they're talking about.
The cruise ship's going to be interesting. Watch
Oh my
out.
heck, I'm so excited about it. I hope a lot of people speak English. I imagine they will. We're disembarking from Barcelona though. And I don't know how many people will be like, oh, let's all travel to Spain and get on a ship. But no matter what, even just observing people, like sometimes I see, I swear I'm not a rude person, but sometimes I see someone and I think, man, I do not have the confidence to wear that. Like, what kind of person does it take to pull that off? So like, because, we all have what we're comfortable in. And for me, it's mostly sweaters and sweats. I'm not going to lie. You only have to see the sweater. You can't see the sweats. And so it's just really, I just love thinking to myself, man, I wonder, like, why do they do that? Why are they wearing that? How can you walk around Disneyland in shoes like that? Like, it's just fascinating to me. People are fascinating and I love watching them. So English or no English, we're going to be doing a lot of people watching and character building while we're on the ship.
Well, you can read body language in any language.
100%.
I'm probably going to get arrested as a stalker one day, because I do something similar. I don't necessarily listen as much as I take pictures of people when they're not looking.
Okay, I feel better.
I'm going to watch out for you.
And I keep these pictures of random people, and then one day they're a character. Like, they just look like, I know what you mean. They look like a character. And so then I'm like, I'm going to get arrested. So
I don't do that. I feel a lot better about my life now.
I will admit to once taking a picture of Santa Claus. He was on vacation. He was on a boat. I did have to get a picture of him. And then there was the guy next to me in the airport. I mean, he was a couple of chairs down, but he was calling all of his girlfriends before he left on his flight.
Oh,
Classic.
that would be good on TikTok nowadays. If you could have got that on video, that would be great.
Oh, yeah.
You could have gone viral, Jan, with that little video.
Oh gosh. Well, Sarah Ortiz, hi Sarah, is asking, what's your favorite thing about writing and your least favorite? Mm, mm, true
I'll go
confessions.
first. My least favorite thing is editing. I really don't like editing. I'd really rather just write the cleanest draft I can and like do proofing. I don't really like editing. When I have to be like, dang, I changed your eye color. I don't know the timeline here, or I need another scene in between all these other scenes I've already, I really don't like that. So I don't like editing hardly at all. That's my least favorite thing. My favorite thing, I think I said earlier, is I think writing for me bleeds all the bad out of my life, and it just leaves me feeling really happy, and I really like it. I love sitting down and going, I wrote these great words and these people are in really bad place right now, but don't you worry, I'm going to fix it for you. I love the happily ever after. I love taking them through those dark times and having it be made right. And so for me, it just gives me a lot of hope, and it's really kind of therapeutic, and that's my favorite thing about it.
That's great.
I also hate editing. That's the worst thing in the entire world to me. My favorite thing, I think it's more my favorite thing to write. I love when I get to write standalones because there's no remembering where you left off, what season, why did I make them have that kid? And now I don't know what grade that kid is in. Should that kid be able to walk yet? You know, that sort of drives me crazy. So I love standalones because you can just make it all up completely from scratch and have some fun with it. So I'd say those are my favorite. But yeah, editing definitely. Once I write it, I don't want to read it again. So I write it and then I'm just like, I don't want to go back to the beginning. It's like homework. I don't like that.
You've told the story, so
yeah, I already know the ending, so I don't want to go back and read it.
Okay, so we've got two on the I don't like editing side. Who else is over there?
I like one of my favorite things about writing is when I get to the halfway mark and I know exactly what's happening and I'm zooming through the book and it's wonderful. The least favorite bit is when there's so much else happening in my life and I just have to put my bottom on the seat and write. And when a deadline's looming and you sort of feel as though you're writing under pressure, that's not a good place to be, but it gets the book written and it's usually really enjoyable to do at the end. But working to deadlines can be a little bit crazy sometimes in our house.
Yeah, same with me. The deadline pressure is not fun. The
No.
least favorite thing to me is getting started. It's the hardest part for me. I'm the biggest procrastinator. I make my coffee, I check my email, and this is particularly when I'm not at the halfway point, because I'm the same way as Leanne. Once I get to the halfway point, and then it's like everything clicks and it's like going downhill. But sometimes there's that murky middle where I just get stuck for a while and I'm like, I don't know what to do with these people because I don't plot ahead. But then once things click, that's my favorite thing is when you're just in the zone and you're just in that happy place and it's actually coming out the way you envision it, that's a fun thing.
Mhm. Oh yeah. Well, I'm pretty much all of the above. I'm ticking all those boxes. It's Leanne, like you, once you get to that midway point, you know where the story's going. You can't write fast enough. And I start dictating and with my funny little accent, a lot of times my dictation software doesn't understand me. I don't know why. I'm not complicated. Yeah, you do. Yeah. And so it'll have a different spelling for this word, and which is a word but not the word I intended. And sometimes thank you, Sil. Sometimes there's little errors, little typos, and they always get me. I think my best book only had 2 typos in it, but it's torture. And I'll listen to them, and I have other people look at them, and we get into the story, and then we forget that we're supposed to be looking for typos, and it's like, oh, it's a really good story. Well, did you find any typos? Oh my God, I forgot to look. And so I really depend on my read and review team for that. I mean, they are incredible. And I've learned to accept it as part of my process. So Anyway, that's it. Deanna's asking, do you have a ritual when you finish a series? Ooh, that's a good one. Yes, yes. Who wants to go first?
I have no rituals. And I feel so bad. I see people like putting their pictures of like the end or whatever, and then they like go do this special thing, or they, you know, have a bottle of wine, or they take. I just start doing the next thing. I just never. I never have celebrated. I should start celebrating, but I've just never done it.
So I do the same thing with every book. I pour myself a big glass of wine. I'll go out to dinner and I have a glass of wine. That's what I do to celebrate because I'm a foodie. So
I schedule a massage. So I get a massage at least twice a month. That doesn't mean I finish 2 books a month by all means, but like, I have a massage and I kind of know when I can go to it. I have a massage like subscription. So I pay like a monthly fee and I can have a massage every month. And I can kind of look at my schedule and go, you know what? I think I'm going to finish a book about right here. And so I'll schedule a massage for the next day or the day after that, because I usually give myself, I need a little wiggle room to finish up, because not everything goes according to plan all the time, shockingly. And so I go get a massage and it's just really nice. I do my 80 minutes or 90 minutes. I get myself lunch after, bring home lunch to anyone who's at the house. And my kids have kind of learned, like if we're at the house, when mom has her massage, she'll bring us lunch, and it's great. That's what I do almost every time I finish a book. That's what I do.
I start the next book because I vow and declare that I'm not going to get behind on the next book like I did on the one before. And usually I kind of get the wobbles about a third of the way in. So that kind of pushes the date out a bit at the end of it. But no, I just start the next book and just carry on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it's fresh in my mind. I usually, once it's finished, I usually, sometimes I want to write a little bit more. So just to get the rest of it out of my system and feel like I'm writing something that's not really on a deadline. And so I might write a bonus scene. I love to do that, but I think the massage is definitely, that's something that I like to do.
Well, I've had to slow down a lot because I can't keep writing at the pace, like finish a book and start another one. Super, like Leanna, I'm like, you go for it, girl, you do it. I did that for so long. Now I'm like, no, I write a book and then I take, depending on how fast I can write the book, because I'm a binge writer, right? So I write fast, and the faster I get it done, the more time I get off. So then I usually take at least, it's usually about 7 to 12 days where I don't write. I'm still working inside, the publishing business, but I'm not writing. It's really like a part-time job. And that's been really good for me to slow down and take time off and just, go get pedicures and massages, or just watch movies or sleep in, or not stress about writing, because I'm a night writer. So, if I don't start till 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock at night, then I might be up till 1 or 2. There's just no stress. I can do whatever I want. So I do really like that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Angie is asking, how do you handle your writing when you have multiple storylines in your head? So we've all got the main plot, the subplots. Do you keep it all in your head, or are you writing it down, making notes? How do you handle that?
I keep everything in my head, which is a scary place in the first place. But I don't know. I was looking at that question and I'm like, I don't know how I handle that. It just is how my brain works, I guess. So it just comes as I'm writing. It just comes to me in the way it's supposed to come to me, but I don't really outline or anything. So I don't have a plan. I just sort of write as the characters speak to me, I guess.
I think that's because you're writing by feel. That's what I call it, is by feel. So I have a lot of stuff going on. I write these giant family sagas, with 9 brothers, and they're all single dads. So here, have 20 characters right up front, right? And you've got a lot of storylines going on. And it's kind of like watching like a big movie saga or universe. I call it a universe. Like if you think of the Marvel universe or the Star Wars universe. And, if you're watching big movie sort of franchises and things like that, or even just like a series on TV that has several characters, which most of us are writing, women's fiction or romance with lots of characters. After a while, as a viewer, you go, I wonder what's happening with Clara. And as a writer, as I'm writing a chapter, I'll go, you know who we haven't seen in a while? Clara. Like, it's by feel. So kind of like what Rachel was saying is she just kind of knows and she keeps it in her head. I call that by feel. That's just what Elana calls it. I'm not saying that's what Rachel does, but I call that by feel. I know I haven't been with a storyline for a while that I need to catch up with quickly because readers are going to be wondering about it. I do happen to use a piece of software called Plotter, and I will sort of plot out. I like to plot out my next 3 days of writing so that I can write fast. So I'll plot out 9 chapters at a time. And that doesn't always mean that's what those chapters are, but I put placeholders in Plotter. And at the end of every writing session, I go and do a little summary of what actually happened in Plotter. And then make sure I have 9 more chapters. So I am keeping track of those subplots and those multiple storylines in a piece of software called Plotter as well, just to help me as I age. I've noticed that I do not remember everything as well as I used to. And so I'm like, I need help with some of this. And so I've started using Plotter a lot more in the last, I would say, year or so.
That's good. That's good.
I tend to have a really good outline. In fact, the book I'm writing now, I've plotted out every chapter. And what I tend to do is I'll write 3 chapters and then I will just review what I've written. Because sometimes those characters, little subplots that sort of come through, you'll think, oh, that's a really good idea for that character, or I need to introduce that character because I've done something with them later on in the book. So I try and capture that in my plotting, but if I haven't, I sneak them in. So every 3 or 4 chapters, I'll make sure that I've popped everyone where they need to be.
That's great. That's great. Pamela, do you have any tricks?
So I go by feel, but I'd say when I get about a third of the way through the book is when I get stuck. And that's when I stop and I go back through and I just make some notes. Basically, I look at every chapter, every scene that I've written so far, and I just jot down whose point of view it was and basically a line or 2 about what happened. And so basically at that point, I kind of reread through and then I'll just keep track of that as I go, and then I'll figure out, okay, like Elana said, oh, I haven't heard from Clara in a while. Maybe she needs to have a scene. So I do that similarly, but it's mostly by feel.
I think most of us have written so much that we have internalized the process. I know when I first wrote, I was making Post-it notes and swapping them around, and we didn't have back then didn't have a real good feel for story. Now I think many of us, we've internalized that. We write. It's just an instinctive sense that we rely on a lot. I have Plotter. I haven't used it. I'd like to. I use Poor Man's Plotter, which is Word. And then on each chapter head, I'll put who the POV, point of view character is and what's going on. And then, of course, I have spreadsheets too that keep a lot of the details, names and backstory and all kinds of details. I have details about characters that never make it onto the page, where they grew up, where they went to school, all sorts of things, their style and so on. But yeah, it's fun. Okay, Deanna, how about one last question here? Deanna says, hi, everyone. How many books have each of you written? Glad to get names of different authors, and we're so glad you're here. Thank you. So how many books? Is anyone losing count?
Yeah, I think I've written over 50, but not all of them are still published because those early ones had to come down at some point. So once I started getting better at craft, I looked back and went, oh no, we're not going to be able to keep these here. So I think I have about 45 currently published last time I counted. And of course, I'm adding 3 more this year. So I'll be getting closer to that 50 again pretty soon.
Good.
I think I'm just over 50, but that's over a couple of different pen names.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting around the same as Rachel at about 44 or 45 books.
Okay. And Elana.
Sorry, my internet has been terrible all day, and I just died on you. What are we answering? How many books have we written? Okay.
Deanna asked, yeah.
I think I'm at about 190 published titles right now.
And I got a late, yeah.
My 3 names.
We're all running after you. I got a late start in life. I did a lot of living first, and so I'm just over 30 books now. But yeah, I think most of us are writing at least 3 or 4 books a year. Some more, Elena, some less. Yeah, but we're all, lots of books for you guys to read. So yes. Well, I think that's it for the evening. It's getting late. I know in a lot of places, it's after 10 on the East Coast where some of you are. And again, this is the Kobo Bogo. I just love saying that. Kobo Bogo, Bogo for Kobo. And the buy one, get one. And there's the logo. And then also we have the giveaway. So be sure to enter that for the Kobo Clara color giveaway. That's a great looking device. And thank you to our friends at Kobo, Rachel and all of her colleagues. And thank you so much for all of our readers and for everyone who has joined us here today. We love you. This is why we write. We write for you, and all of us love to hear from you. And happy reading, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.